Okay. Hit your video. Stop. Hit your video button to get you going, folks.
Oh yeah, include upper lower.
Let's see. I got 33 people. A lot of people on here.
2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
I can.
No, this is Howard Day. My video doesn't work.
Okay. So you're just going to come to us by phone?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Let me see.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't have a link.
No, but we
I've got it. I'm on now. Thanks, Marilyn.
better that we had 9.
It has to have your
You.
microphone number.
Hello, Sharon.
Yeah,
Hi. Hi, Nick. I finally got on.
See, I have so many participants here.
yeah, they're telling us what it is there. I don't see it yet. And I had Leo was going to send it to me. It mentioned on there once. He said I have people that didn't get their information.
Okay, let's see. Nick, have you made me a co-host?
See,
Let me bend over here.
Ted, yes, you're now co-host of the meeting.
Okay, good.
Here was my password for Zoom.
Password presume is C. Hi, Sharon. Writer 12.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Do that because I don't have a.
And we have Gene Heasley on.
Your meeting, what's it say?
Where's Gene at?
I'm right here. Can you see me?
There's Leo.
I see you, Leo.
Well, okay, I'm looking for you.
Can't see me?
Are you really there, or is that background?
Hey,
Well,
I'm really down there. You know, this ice storm I know nothing about.
I believe you.
We got our power to our house came on 20 minutes ago. It had been off for
Where'd it go?
12 days.
12 days without electricity.
I see, Gene.
do you?
I do. Anyway, you look like Gene and somebody peeking their head around the corner there.
You hear me?
I can hear you, and I even see somebody maybe named Donna there.
She's here.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, getting on this thing was about all that this nervous system wanted.
Hi, Zena.
Hi, Sharon.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Sharon. You
Hey,
haven't
Gene.
Ted,
Yes,
you feel like it's about time to get started now?
I think so.
I think we got all the bugs worked out.
I think it's pretty amazing that we got all these people on and more for it. David Stroman is there, I see.
Yeah.
Hi, David.
Why would you know?
Ron, you got on,
This is
good.
this is the
And
Zoom.
then Brad Shield did, okay, and Dr. Franza did. Some of you folks, I just want to take a minute. Some of you folks I don't know. I know Dan Bush, Floyd Wilder. Good to have you here.
Yeah,
Where are you coming from, Floyd?
Los Angeles area.
Okay, well that's a quite a distance. Donald Gwynn, I see you're there. You're outside.
Yes, I'm watching a flag football game here in Arkansas. I'm a retired
Okay.
physician.
Well, Keith Newman's there, but he's just listening in, I see. Brad Shields here. April Hinden, you haven't logged on to see these folks for how many years did you say? Well, you're muted, April. Can you unmute?
Better.
Yeah, there we go. There we go, April. And Anthony Harmon, where are you coming from? Well, he's muted too. Let's me talk to him.
Sorry about that. I'm in Northwest OKC.
Okay. A lot of you are muted there, so I can't address you. And some I just need to, there's one identified, well, no, everybody's turning off the, William Kuhn.
Ted, we got a message that said to mute ourselves.
Ted, I'm trying to make sure we don't have too much background noise in the meeting.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yes.
I see. Well, let's go ahead and get going here. I'm pleased, actually. I didn't think there'd be these snafus, but that's the way it is. We'll start the Catalyst meeting, and I'm pleased that everyone has joined us. Let me open up in prayer, and then we'll get started. Lord, thank you for this meeting. Thank you that we can get together with people that we haven't seen or met before, and that we also meet old friends. Be with us today as we grow closer to you. Well, my name is Ted Bader. I've been Catalyst president since 2005. I was hoping that we have one other Catalyst president with us, David Stroman, anchored it for a couple of years. But in between the middle of Francis Oakes started it 1978 to 2005, and David Stroman had a couple of years there in between. So I did want to make note that, Francis Oakes died recently, and were it not for him and starting Benchwarmers and then starting Catalyst, and of course, Gene Heasley, was one of the pioneers to get started. We wouldn't have this meeting, but there's just a lot of good things that Catalyst does for SNU. We help with student scholarships. We help with equipment. One of the professors has told me that they feel like SNU has the equipment that a middle-sized university would have, as opposed to a small-sized university, and that's good to hear. And SNU has the only international science campus in Oklahoma. None of the big universities or little universities have something like the Quirk, so that has been good. So finally, I want to introduce the new faculty liaison. A lot of you already know him, Nick Zoller. He's chair of the mathematics department, and tell us about the guy that you replaced, Nicholas. What happened to him? How did he disappear?
Doesn't sound good.
Went quietly into the night. Mark Winslow was tapped to be the new vice president of academic affairs for the School of Professional and the College of Professional and Graduate Studies here at SNU. And he began that position in May of this year. Yeah,
he is still helping us out. I may not chosen the right words there. I guess we'll have. It's good. I think Nick has I'm not used to such a big meeting. I'm used to having about 20 people at once, but not this many. Has put your mic on mute for the time being, so we don't get too much background noise. Now you can though, however, use the chat function If you hit the little down at the bar, it says chat, then you can type in questions for us. And I should have Shauna York on or somebody to help answer the chats because Nick and I will be too busy for that. But tell us what you're doing now. Yes, Shauna York, there she goes. She says her chat. So type in what you're doing now, a paragraph of what you're doing. We'll keep track of that, and that'll be printed out so we can keep that for our records. So those of you that would do that for us, type and tell us what position you have. And if you've got any degrees past SNU, let us know about that. Type it in. And if you have any questions, Shauna York, who's the chair of the science division now, she'll try to answer them. And I have one student down, I know, and Chris Johnson's going to present his project pretty soon for us, his summer project. And he may be able to answer them later. I hope there was another student that would get on, but we'll see. Alexis, are you other? Is Alexis on? Okay. Anyway, those you can even send a private chat to somebody if you want. But so first of all, so we got to that, and at the end, I hope to have our esteemed emeritus faculty. I'll give them a few minutes to talk about what they're happening with them. Jean and Sharon and Leo, and those are the three that I see. They'll get to. I'll give them a couple of minutes to talk about where they're at, and obviously they're still alive with that. Then, I think, Nick, I'll have you introduce the student researcher, Chris Johnson. He's going to present his research. Go ahead, Nick.
Be glad to. Chris did some research this past year with Dr. Shauna York in the chemistry department, and they were studying tautomers. I'm going to let Chris explain the rest. Chris, I made you a co-host of the meeting, so you should be able to share your screen and show us your slides and take it from here. There you go.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Johnson. I am a senior chemistry. Oh, that is the last slide. About tautomers today. I was practicing and was on my last slide. All right. So my project was the NMR methods to identify and quantify tautomers. And my mentor was Dr. Shauna York. So a tautomer is a form of, most commonly between a keto and the chemicals I looked were 2,4-pentadione and hypoxanthine. And the enol to keto was mostly in the 2,4-pentadione, but the hypoxanthine had different types of keto and tuamide. So the questions I was going to solve, or I asked myself in this project, was how NMR be used identifying quantum tautomer form, and how to solve and affect tautomer equilibrium. And so to answer these questions, I two different methods, NMR and also Spartan. So for NMR, I use the Anasazi EFT and then shim them for different programs. That just collects a basic NMR spectra. And COSY creates a hydrogen relation graph at the depth. It creates 3 different carbon-13 spectra, and that's helpful in distinguishing between methyl, methylene, and methylene carbons. I'll go more into that later. And then a BAPR, which is a basic NMR spectra, but it block averages them together, which increases the signal to noise. And this was very helpful for dilute samples like hypoxanthine. And then for Spartan, Spartan is a quantum molecular. data and spectroscopic and dynamic data. And so these were models for 2,4-pentadiene from Spartan, and only the ketol and enol tautomers were observed whenever we were running the NMRs. Here are the two spectra that are just basic NMR spectra. So the top one is your hydrogen NMR spectra, and then your bottom one is your carbon NMR spectra, and this was of 2,4-pentadiene in acetone G6. NMR and the inset graph there is what Spartan gave me whenever I calculation, and those two peaks that it shows are what it calculates the peaks for the tautomer to have. And so, and in the actual spectra below that, there are 4 peaks, which means that there were 2 different tautomers that were being measured at the same time.
Yes. Are you able to get on the Zoom? Okay.
To
They kept calling for a password.
to
Somebody over at SNU.
Somebody needs to mute.
They keep calling for a password.
Okay. Okay. Just gonna move on. So sorry. Next step was in identifying which peaks associate to which tautomer. So from the basic graph, you can't just correlate them because their shifts and how they shift downfield aren't necessarily clear. So the 2 things that I were to use were either depth or cozy. And so we first looked at depth, and each line of the depth highlights or emphasizes a different or a different carbon group. So on the first line, whatever signal is inversed is going to be your methylene group, and that's highlighted by the blue circle. And then on the second line, where peak is emphasized is methylene, and that's the red circle. On the bottom graph, that's what's left over, and those are going to be your methyl groups. And so by using depth, we are able to correlate the different peaks to the actual tautomers. And so this was done in just a neat sample. And since we were testing solvent effects, we also ran the depth in acetone, and we still got a similar effects in approximate the same position. So we were able to use depth to correlate the different groups to the different tautomers. And because we were able to do that, we didn't need to use COSY, but we did take it anyways to show and prove the different correlations we see. So the offset from the diagonal show the different correlations, and those matched up with the depth that we're expecting to see. So the actual data from the MR of 2,4-pentadiene was this spectra. And so there's peaks, and that's because even though we were using deuterated solvents, there was crossing over of hydrogens from the solvent or from the 2,4-pentadiene to the solvent. And so we still see an acetone peak. So that's what that first peak is that's just the acetone. And then the other peaks, using the depth, we were able to match them up with the different tautomers and then calculate the tautomer ratios in the different acetone or in the different solvents. So in acetone, we got a 3:5 ratio. And that was, we found those numbers by using the integration of how tall the peaks were, basically. And so in D2O, this is the spectra we had, and there's a peak at Greece, and then there were peaks at 5 with our depth again. However, because of crossing over with clean peak at 4, as you can see down there, it's sort of broad. So that means swallowed up peak of water. Use this graph to methylene, but we were still able to use it to calculate the ratios between the 2 different methyl groups. And so we were able to do that and get a ratio of 1/3. So then in chloroform D, because the P at 7.4 is our chloroform, didn't have any overlaps or anything, so we were able to get a very clear ratio in between the 2 different tautomers. So we got a ratio of 7:2. And our other chemical we looked at was hypoxanthine. And so hypoxanthine, whenever we put in, it gave us a different topics that both use ketol to eno. So there were so many different peaks that could be observing and looking for. It was kind of hard to find what we see. So when we took very basic zero-go spectra of 3 peaks, which and we see, and peaks we just assume to be noise again, or spinning sidebands, which can happen if your NMR is not properly calibrated. So we kind of dismissed it, but then when looking back on it and also using the calculated peaks that we calculated from Spartan, we're actually observing the polymers of hypoxanthine within the sample. It's going to be hard to match those individual peaks to individual tautomers, but also we would like to find a different solvent in which hypoxanthine dissolves and is deuterated, so we don't get those really large peaks, and so that we can get some very clear signal peaks. And so our conclusions for 2,4-pentadione was that in D2O, there's a 1:3 ketol to eno ratio, and in acetone, there's a 3:5 ketol to eno ratio, and in chloroform, there's a 7:2. The references that we use to figure knowledge and NMR. Lastly, I would like to thank the SNU Catalyst Board and the NASA Oklahoma Space Grant Consortium, the SNU Research Fund, and then Dr. Lisa Crow for helping us with NMR, and Dr. Fonsa, the SRE Director.
Thank you, Chris. You have be the first in history to present that by Zoom to Catalyst meeting. If anybody has any questions for him, give a chat, ask a chat question for Chris, and Shauna will direct it to him, or maybe she can answer it herself. And at this time, I think I'd like to update some of the departmental news for the interested catalyst. Dr. Franz, I'll have you in a bit fill in anything that I haven't said about the biology department, but I talked yesterday to Dennis Williams, who's the director of the QERC now, and I would urge you all to take a look at the Quirk website down in Costa Rica. You just Google in QERC and it'll take you right to that. And also you might want to link to their homepage because they put some cool things on there. There's a very good 41-second video of resplendent Quetzal flying on that picture, so you can see the pictures and get the news. We've been fortunate for the last year to have a couple on site. Their names are Brendan and Emily De Leon. They are Northwest Nampa University graduates, but Brendan grew up as a missionary kid in Haiti, and so he speaks fluent Spanish. And Emily is from Guatemala, but she's a US citizen and speaks fluent Spanish. It's the first time we've had site directors that were fluent in Spanish, and they have fit in, I think, well, and they know the people of the Valley quite well. And that helps us not depend as much on the Chacones as we might otherwise have to. So that's good to have that couple down there. We have, let's see, how many students? I think we have 10 students going for the spring semester there. There's some from Northwest Nazarene and some from Point Loma, because the Nazarene College Consortium has decided to help back that up. At the current time, our environmental science program here doesn't have as many students as we'd like. We've had 2 professors depart from the biology department this last year. David Hochman was the director of Quirk in the environmental sciences. He moved to a university in Canada. I'm blanking on the name. And Rob Jackson, our anatomy teacher, PhD anatomy teacher, moved on to, I think, the university in Tulsa. Anyway, so we have 2 positions open, and I mention that because our alumni have an enormous number of contacts in the world. And if you think there's a candidate for one of these professor jobs in biology, you contact the Shauna or the SNU, and I think they'd be happy to interview them. There is one person being interviewed for one position, but we don't want to give their name because they're not anywhere. They've just started the interviews.
What's this?
Dr. Franza, what other news in the biology department before we?
I think we're not on there. They're not seeing us because that's not on.
You see yourself up there?
Yeah.
We're on.
Well, okay. Well, you need to mute yourself because otherwise it just is too much noise in the background.
Yes. Can you hear me, Ted?
I can hear you now.
Perfect. Yes. Yes. You pretty much cover everything. As you said, we have 2 positions posted right now, and we have 1 person that we are interviewing, and for the environmental position, we it just came alive. We just published this week, so we're looking forward to get some candidates for that position as well. But we're excited that we'll have Quirk happening this spring semester, and there's a good group of students going there. And yeah, so those are some of the recent developments. I don't know if you want me to talk about some of my research at this point or later on. I'll follow your lead on that one.
Well, you've been presenting fascinating research about mosquitoes that you and the students have acquired. It's been the catalysts have helped to fund that research. And there's been an enormous interest by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. Just if you could, and then if you could just explain that in 5 or 10 sentences, the mosquito research, that's very relevant to what's going on. And then there's some, you've done something in COVID recently?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Well, so explain both those briefly for me.
Yes. So Oklahoma is endemic for West Nile virus, which is a virus transmitted by mosquitoes. And in this past 3 years, we have been working in understanding at least 2 aspects of this disease. One is the community of mosquitoes that are present in Oklahoma. They are capable, they are vectors of transmitting the West Nile virus. And second is understanding the nature of the virus itself. West Nile virus is spread across the continent, the continental USA, and different strains are circulating in the country. So we wanted to know a little bit more about the virus. So we use next generation sequencing to sequence the whole genome of the virus to understand more of what particular strains are circulating in Oklahoma. So this work has been very exciting, and again, we have a lot of help from Catalyst for us to do this, along with the students. And some of the knowledge and techniques that we use to understand West Nile virus, they are transferable to apply and understand coronavirus. And so beginning in April of this year, I started working with the Oklahoma State Department of Health to apply some of these techniques that we're using to understand West Nile to understand the SARS-CoV-2, right, the coronavirus. And so beginning in early May up to this point, the Department of Health, it's sending me samples from different time points throughout the pandemic, particularly here in Oklahoma, exclusively here in Oklahoma, and have been sequencing those viruses. And so we are doing a study that's called a phylogenetic study. So a phylogenetic study is a study that it's tracking genetic changes over time and space to understand mutations that are affecting the characteristic of the virus. And so we are about finishing, and we're going to put together a manuscript because we have sequenced over 200 samples from as early as March and as late as August from Oklahoma. And we are seeing very interesting patterns of different lineages circulating in Oklahoma of the SARS-CoV-2. And we are seeing those interesting relationships between the socioeconomics of the parts of the state and how different strains are spreading along the state. And so we have detected important mutations that are now very relevant in the treatment of the SARS-CoV-2 as well. So this is, in a nutshell, what we have been doing in this past few months here in the department, in the biology department at CDU. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Franza. Nick, tell us what's happening in the Department of Math. Anything new happening there?
Well, in the past year or so, we have gotten reaccredited for math education by the National Council of Teachers in Mathematics. And we graduated two math teachers that graduated in December, and then one in May last school year. They went teaching this fall into a brave new world of teaching by Zoom, or teaching partly in person and partly by Zoom. We also graduated a student who is starting a PhD program at Texas A&M. And for the third year in a row, we participated in a national math competition in December of last year called the Putnam exam. And for the second year in a row, one of our students was the highest scoring student in all of Oklahoma and Arkansas on that exam.
Good. Shauna, can you pause your chat for a bit and tell us, or wait, did I see, or Lisa maybe can do this. Can you tell us what's happening in chemistry?
Sure. We had a number of students graduate this past May, and actually several of them went on to enter into PhD programs in chemistry. There's 2 of them in Norman in the OU PhD program. And I think 1 or maybe 2 are up at OSU in Stillwater. So we continue to have a lot of students interested in doing research projects and in pursuing graduate school options. Shauna actually has, I think, 9 or 10 students enrolled for spring physical chemistry, which tells you how many people are actually going through the higher level chemistry classes as they complete their college major. In addition to that, we've acquired a really wonderful new instrument that we're beginning to learn how to use. It's a inductively coupled plasma spectrometer through alumni donation. And that will allow us to do some sampling of water and figure out like part per million and part per billion metal content of different metals. And it's a wide ranging, it covers the periodic table. So it's a really amazing instrument. So we're looking forward to using that this coming year with our students for the first time.
Good.
Can I add, Lisa?
Sure.
that, you know, that was a very generous donation, but we're not thanking the person because they wanted to stay anonymous. But we certainly appreciate it. It's just thrilling. And we've also been able to get in the last a little over a year, a new ultraviolet visible scanning spectrophotometer, and also a new solution calorimeter. And we've had, I think, even this year with COVID going on and the weirdness about decreased class sizes and stuff, we had 5 students doing semester research up in chemistry, and we kind of rotate them to keep them spaced out. And I watch the research students on Tuesdays while Lisa teaches lab, and she watches them on Thursdays while I teach lab, and we try to only have like 2 of them in the room at a time. But they're just going right along with jumping into these new things and setting them up, and I'm very proud of them. And thank you to our donors.
Thank you. Well, that helps bring me, you know, the Catalyst. We appreciate the donations. You don't have to give any specific amount. The Pioneers back in 1978 had suggested a $250 donation. And with inflation now, that would be $750. But we've had people give $25, $30 consistently. It's not so much the amount that you just, it's just that it's given. A lot of our alumni are so busy they can't remember to do it, and they ask me to send them an invoice. We're happy to do that, send you an invoice at the end of the year, and you can just pay that, and it makes it very easy for their bookkeepers or whatever to do. And we have several that pay monthly by credit card, so just let us know. And we don't give out the amounts that people give, we just that you give something. And it really has helped us. And over the 42 years of the Catalyst organization, alumni have given more than $1 million. And so little contributions add up to a lot. And we have a lot of good equipment. We're really able to come alongside the faculty and help them go to some meetings and get some professional meeting dues, and then the student research is just very important that faculty can do research and have the latest machines. This helps students get into graduate school much easier. So, but if you send your contribution in this and you make sure you put Catalyst on it, or it gets put in the general fund. So you want to make sure it has Catalyst on it. And let's see what we'll do at this point. I hope everybody that's gotten on has been able to chat and tell us what they're doing now. If you've had a recent change in your email or change in contact number, please put that down. And there's more people on here than what's registered, and so I can't I can't keep track of everybody. I think it's a wonderful way to keep track of, or to greet people at a distance. At this point, I think I will just let some of our esteemed retired faculty talk, and Leo is always ready to talk. Can we unmute Leo and you tell us you had a big move this year and just got your electricity on, but tell us about your move, Leo, and what else is going on.
Well, I'll make the move quite short. Zeta here could fill you in on a lot, but we moved from the St. Cloud, Florida up to here to Bethany. And so all of you come by Bethany, 3205 Shannon, and we'll chat with you. We're still unpacking boxes, but it's good to be back in Bethany. Florida was great. Before Florida, of course, we were at Olivet for 10 years after we left here after 35 years. And I will mention this, Ted, this Catalyst group, of course, Quirk would not exist without the Catalyst. And right now, there is another Catalyst organization. I think they'll be talking with Ted and you all, but Olivet Nazarene University has a catalyst group that's very active and doing just like Southern Nazarene. It's fantastic what's happening in Nazarene schools across this United States. God is good in the science community, and it blesses us all the time. We see him, Dr. Mike Pyle, he's an MD who's worked much in all over the world, but was head of the Department of Biology at Olivet. I talked to him about catalyst, and he said, we have to have one of those here. So SNU Catalyst is spreading the word around the planet.
That's good. That's good, Leo. Thank you. Gene Heasley is on. When did you have your surgery? He's just like the ever ready bunny. He's just going to keep going here. Gene, can you get on?
Am I on?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
All right. Well, Don and I have been back 20 years now. And for 15 years, we had a vegetable and fruit stand in the summer. And we started out doing that this year, but we knew we were kind of pushing things a little. So then I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. So that sort of brought an end to the selling part of it. But thanks to the advances that have been made in medicine, they put in a new valve into my heart, just up through the artery, and put in one stent. And as far as I can tell, I am now much better than I was before the whole thing came up. And so I don't think I'm a congestive heart failure victim anymore, although I'm counting my salt every day. But we kept on growing things all summer and just finally gave up a couple of weeks ago. We had fairly warm weather until recently. And we'll continue to do something like that. It's been we haven't been bored in retirement. Fortunately, we've had a church that's been extremely active and doing very well recently, and that's brought us into contact with lots of people. So it's great to have people around that you are friends with and so on. And the COVID business has been kind of rough on churches and many other things, but I'm sure we'll get through it to the end. I've been really gratified by a bunch of the good things that have been going on in the science departments. I'm impressed. It's hard to do that with no more faculty than you've got, and it's you're going to reap big dividends.
I think so. You're still reading the Wall Street Journal and the National Review?
Yeah, I get the Wall Street Journal virtually 6 days a week. It comes a day late because it comes in the mail, but that's kind of my main intellectual stimulus. It's not mostly, well, it's got lots of financial stuff in it, but I start with the back, the front. I start with the front section at the back where all the opinion stuff is, and you got a lot of good writers in there. And I've got other things that stir my mind. Probably philosophically, the first things is the thing that challenges my thinking more than any. That's a kind of a covers philosophy, Christianity. The main leaders in it are Catholics, but it's very ecumenical.
Good, Gene. If anybody has any questions for Gene, maybe Shauna can pass them along.
Oh, Ted, can I say one thing to Jean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Heasley, first, it's so wonderful to see you. This is Shauna. I don't know if you can see where I am on the
Oh,
screen.
I can see you very well. You're looking great.
Well, some other people on here will understand how this week I started thinking about the fact I mentored a student on an NMR project, and that student is presenting today, and Dr. Heasley will be watching the NMR project that I was in charge of, and I started to feel a little bit nervous, not because of Chris. Chris is wonderful, but I was like, man, it's like being back in school again. I hope that Dr. Heasley doesn't find anything wrong with my NMR. So anyway, I hope you thought it went okay.
Can you do carbon NMR with your machine, with your instrument?
Yeah, so it's the same NMR magnet that you had, but there was an upgrade. So it'll do what? Carbon, nitrogen. Lisa, hop on. What all will it do? Because Lisa's our real NMR expert.
It will do phosphorus. Yeah, it will do it will tune to other.
Amazing. I was fortunate to retire when I did and turn it over to people who made all that happen.
Well, you preserved it so well. I just am amazed at how all the instruments that you guys left behind are so hardy, and you can just do all kinds of things with them these days even.
Yes, so the magnet's the same, but the guts on the other side are different.
I know, basically. Yeah, I know that Daryl Cox had much of that done early on, and I was run out of gas at that point. I could never have done it.
But I think Chris enjoyed getting to use some of those instruments this summer, so he was the beneficiary.
That was a nice project. I'd forgotten for the moment what a tautomer was.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time, Ted.
Oh, that's fine. We have Sharon Young on here. Let's unmute Sharon and tell us what you're doing, Sharon.
It's just so great to see the faces of some of my favorite people. I'm just so pleased. And to the current faculty, thank you for carrying on the heritage and tradition and your excellence that you're pursuing. The students are in good hands, and I'm just so thankful for that. I'm still living on my 20-acre wildlife refuge. The ice storm, let me talk about surface area. I'm sure you guys all remember when I lectured to you about surface area. When an ice storm comes while there's still leaves on the tree, there's so much more surface area for the ice to cling to that we just had a catastrophic loss of tree limbs. And so my poor trees look awful. But biologically and with God's help, they will renew. Just like the grass renewed after the fire in 2016, the trees will renew again. 2020 has had a lot of trials for all of us, but God is good. And despite the isolation, I've been able to keep in touch with a lot of people that are as isolated as I am and send cards and letters and texts and emails. And God always provides ministry if we're willing to listen. Thank you, guys. I love you all.
Good. There's far more. I wished I could have everybody talk here, but we can't. We just have too many in the meeting today. Shauna, were there any chat questions that we could give to the current faculty, or?
There have not really been any questions. I will say, in case some people are not reading the chat, that for Drs. Heasley and Young and Finkenbinder, that there have been several people on expressing their appreciation for the difference you made in their lives and how great it is to see you, and that you're still able to get on here with us. And in a way, it's some of a blessing that we're doing this virtual instead of in person, because there's people who are here now who couldn't have joined us in person. So I mean, sometimes you have to look for the bright side. But yeah, so many people have said how great it was to see the former professor. So I did want to pass that on in case they weren't reading the chats. And one person has said they were so glad that they started here after women could wear pants. So I started after women could wear pants too. So you'll have to be older than me if you want to address that comment.
Well, very good. Let's see, do I have all the former professors or even current professors? Are there any here that haven't had a chance to speak?
Is Dr. Griffiths here?
Yeah, I see he's on. He may be on by telephone. Jeff, are you there?
I'm here.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff, tell us a few words about what's happening at SNU or where you're at.
Let's see. Dr. Franza did a great job earlier, kind of summarizing a lot of things for us. You talked a little bit about our current hiring needs. So yes, obviously, if anybody knows, especially of a qualified field biologist, please send them our way. And so we're excited about that prospect of having 2 new people join us. We're excited about the applicant we're interviewing right now. A lot of potential there. And then we're just appreciative once again of continuing to support our research and our work, especially with all the work Dr. Franz has been doing with the health department and everything. But yeah, thank you guys.
Good.
And would it put Laura on the spot too much if I asked her to say a word about the class she's been doing to help our students who come to us with, shall we say, less than good high school math experiences? She might not.
That's all good. So for the last couple of years, we have had a college algebra class for students who are unprepared. And that has seemed to be a relatively good success, keeping data on that. And so after a few more semesters, we'll be able to kind of compile that and figure out how much success we're actually having. But students who would not normally be able to even come into college algebra are coming in and being able to pass in a semester instead of going through a process that would take 2 semesters. So that's not for very many science majors. It's mostly other majors on campus, but yeah, mostly successful.
Okay, good.
Ted, I think I see an Anthony Harmon there. Didn't he used to have something to do with the college?
Anthony Harmon, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon to you. After teaching about 35 years at the college level, I finally retired. I live in Northwest OKC.
Okay. I haven't had the privilege of meeting you. What did you teach here?
Chemistry.
Oh, okay.
67 through 70.
Okay.
Before your time.
Before my time, yes.
I've been around a while.
Yes. Okay. Do we see any other current or former faculty?
Dr. Neuenschwander wanted me to mention that he was very sorry he couldn't be here, but his niece was getting married today. And also to assure everyone that it was a very small family wedding with social distancing and masks. So, but that he did want to see his niece get married.
That's right. Yeah, thank you, Shauna, for reminding.
Dr. Judd really wanted to also.
He's still perking along too, isn't he?
He still is without power.
Tape coming up, was that Harmon?
Okay. Well, Nick, I think we can go ahead and there we go. Ron Hodges. Prof. Harmon was my general chemistry professor. Okay, Ron. Let's see. Colin Whitsitt, are you the grandson of Don Whitsitt?
Yes. Yeah. He's my grandpa.
Okay.
Yep.
What are you doing now, Colin?
So right now I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I work as a geographic information systems technician, which is a fancy way of saying that I create and design maps that visualize like spatial data. And I do that for an energy company up here. So help them kind of plan different projects, just look at whether certain, ideas people are batting around will or won't work. Right now I work mainly on gas, but I've done a lot of work for renewables in the past too. I was a consultant for a firm, and one of the big clients was a massive wind company here in the US. So yeah, it's cool. I see a lot of variety in my work, and get to play with data all day.
Okay, good. Well, Nick, probably time to close the meeting. People don't have to get off if they want. If we can give one person at a time the ability to talk, but at this point, I think I'll officially close the meeting. And you're all welcome to leave, sign off individually, but I'd like to just keep it going for a while, and we have to let one person talk at a time, or there's too much background noise. So maybe raise your hand or something. I'm not quite sure how to do all this with this many people online. But Nick, I want you to close in prayer for us, and that'll officially close it, and people can leave if they want to, but otherwise I'd like to still hear people talk. Okay, Nick?
Yes, Ted. Let's all bow our heads in prayer. Lord, we thank you for the work of Southern Nazarene University, and especially for the work of the science and math departments. Thousands of students have learned about your creation through the excellent teaching of the faculty. Many student lives were changed through the guidance and mentoring of the faculty. SNU alumni have made contributions to society and to your church in both big ways and small ways, and they continue to give back to SNU through the catalysts. Thank you, God, for all you have done, all you are doing, and all that is yet to come. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 So let's see. Let me go down the list here. Is that Charles Rudd sitting there?
Let me check here. The guy with the hair?
Yeah.
Yes, that's him.
How are you doing?
I'm doing so well, I can't stand it, man. It's awesome. God is good all the time.
Are you still practicing medicine?
Oh, well, only when I go to church, and I'm accustomed to what I do, and a few neighbors, but I don't go to an office anymore. I go to the hospital. I keep everything current, your license and your DEA and your all of that stuff. But my wife says I'm just wasting time and money.
Well, that's the way I feel too sometimes.
Good to see
with my keeping up my license. Anything else, Charles, you would say?
I looking forward to getting back and doing some trout fishing in at the coast in Quirk, but I just haven't done it yet. And I want to take some people with me, but I'm being selective. When I get them all together, I'll let you know.
Okay. Dan Bush, you tell us what you're doing now. Let's unmute him. We got to unmute you. I'm gonna ask. There you go, Dan. There you unmuted.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I just recently retired. Right before the COVID thing hit. 42 years of dentistry. Thanks in part to some of our 3 professors that we have with us today. So thanks, a shout out to all you guys for helping me to have a great career. Just went through neck surgery due to my profession. I kind of bent over too much, so I kind of had to quit. Laminectomy and fusion of 6 vertebrae. So there you go. But I'm feeling much better now. But I'm enjoying life right now.
Good to see you. Floyd Wilder. Let's unmute. Floyd, tell us what's happening with you.
Well, I've been retired now for about 13 years, and we don't get out too much anymore. I wish I could come back down there to Bethany and see the campus again. I spent 40 years as a system programmer on a mainframe, and it was exciting work, but that's and I still keep up with it. But as far as our activity today, well, we're pretty restricted. Out here in California, where they won't let you do a whole lot now during this COVID, and but I keep busy here at home doing many things, but I'm not able to get out very much.
Yeah. Well, Floyd, thank you. That helps me remind me at 6 o'clock, the link at SNU Homecoming is for kind of roundabout the campus. There'll be some interviews and other things going on about campus news. So if you can hook into the 6 p.m. Oklahoma time, you'd find that interesting. So let's see, let me skip down. Let's see, who hasn't said anything here? Well, I think I've talked to William Coons. Ron Hodges, you haven't been able to say anything. Let's unmute. Let's unmute you, Ron.
Well, I retired twice. Once about 10 years ago, and then came back part-time, which I really enjoyed. I was at Lockheed Martin in their Advanced Technology Center here in Palo Alto, California. So to keep myself busy now, I got involved in a genealogy hobby and got a little bit of chemistry involvement when I helped to start a DNA project. So we've got 200 and some people who've taken DNA tests who have some connection with the Hodges surname. And I'm on the board of the National Genealogical Society. We just, an hour before this started, the November meeting of the board ended about an hour before this started. So that's been interesting.
Good, Ron. You might find out more of those DNA studies. You might find out some things you don't want to know. There's a friend of mine, acquaintance from long ago, Ernie Carroll here. Ernie, good to see you. And we ran into each other in Denver here recently, and it was great. Ernie, let's see, you graduated in...
I graduated in 67 and followed my dream of teaching kids. In the meantime, I also pursued my master's with an emphasis in microbiology, but so do much appreciate SNU and all that it meant. Taught for quite a few years and then took a different turn, went to work for various departments of AT&T, and after they gave me a good reason to go away, good financial reason, I got bored and I said, I want to go back to the kids. So I did that for another 10 years, enjoyed teaching.
Playing the game again?
No. I still tutor students and enjoy that, and still do some science projects for the local STEM schools when they come in, and we do something that I have the time to set up. So life has been good. Many of you know my dearly departed cousin, Dr. Marvin Snowbarger, who passed several years ago now. He always on my case, he said, you don't want to teach high school kids, you want to become a doctor. And of course I didn't. And I always say, you don't ever take too much credit or too much blame for how your own kids come out or your own students. But I'm happy to say that in that teaching period, I've had 5 students become medical doctors, and I still keep in track with some of them. And so life has been good. Thanks so
Good.
much.
Thank you, Ernie. I so appreciate that. Now there's a person I don't know. Their label is Lily Eckles. Can you introduce yourself and?
Yes, this is Ray Lothry. I'm a chemistry graduate in 1971. And I'm running under this alias because my granddaughter had taken some classes and used my computer. So I got a PhD at the University of Texas in 1971 in analytical chemistry with a concentration in X-ray diffraction. I spent nearly 37 years with Halliburton at the Duncan Research Center and the Houston Technology Center, working with X-ray diffraction, X-ray fluorescence, electron microscopy, and other general techniques. I enjoyed being an analytical chemist. My buddy thought running samples all the time was boring, but I thought each sample that came in was a challenge. And I love my career. I survived all the ups and downs in the oil field industry, except the last one. I was already over the age of 65 and had already trained my replacement. So I was ready to go. In retirement, I'm a Sunday school teacher, Sunday school board member. I worked worked a remodeling project for Caris Pregnancy Center for 9 months and really enjoyed that. I'm chairman of the board of a local credit union. And most of my time I spend out in my 5 acres of woods. I try to spend 5 or 6 hours a day outside. I just really love being out in nature.
Right. Well, thank you. Now there's somebody here. It's identified as R.A. Hall. Oh, Les Hall. I know you. Yes, Les Hall and Roseanne, old friends, went to the same medical school. Let's unmute you. I'm trying to ask you to unmute. There you go. Les, are you in South Carolina now?
We are. Ted, it's great to see you and everybody else. This has been a lot of fun to see some old friends and a few new friends as well. So we've been here for almost 6 years now. We're in Missouri for 16 years before that. After I left SNU, we went to Washington University, which you were at the time, and graduated from the School of Medicine there. And I'm an internal medicine physician. I've been privileged to be the dean of the medical school here in Columbia for the last 6 years. So as you can imagine, 2020 has been a very interesting year for us as we've navigated all the issues related to the COVID pandemic. But, you know, there's been some good things happening in the midst of all that. Probably the biggest joy for us in the last few years is both of our kids followed us to South Carolina. We did not leave a forwarding address and they found us anyhow. And so we have 2 kids and 2 grandkids that are near us and we get to see frequently. And Roseanne is actually helping with remote learning for our 8-year-old grandson this year because he's not in the classroom because of COVID. And so she has very much a full-time job overseeing his education this year. And she's doing a great job of that, as you would expect.
Les, good to hear from you. Roseanne, did you see Marilyn on the screen? Marilyn's waving to you.
I don't, we only have about 5 screens that we can see at once. We'll have to scroll, we'll scroll through them. I mean, I certainly see her on Facebook.
Okay.
There she is. Yeah.
There you are.
That's great.
Good to see you.
So, friends from medical school for me. Anyway, good. Let me see who we have left here. Let's see who has not. Irene Jurgensen. Are you there? Can we unmute her? Irene.
Can you hear me now? This is Gail.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank Laura for giving us a t-shirt. Said I tried to retire, but now I work for my wife. You see her name. She's a piano teacher and has been for a long time. to tell you, bring you up to date, because we haven't managed to meet on campus, I'll tell you that I have a master's in biochemistry. And when I went to work for IBM, that didn't do a lot for me, but get me the job. But I enjoyed the job and was there for 25 and a half years. More recently, I got a chance with some IBM money to take some more education and got a master's in computer information systems,
What you doing, dear?
which fit better, and pursued that for about 6 years, working with Storage Technology, a related company that spun off from IBM, was gobbled up by Sun Microsystems, which in turn was eaten by Oracle. So I've seen several things of hiring and letting go and hiring back again and so on. That's been fascinating. But we're living in Colorado in Longmont, eastern edge of Boulder County. We enjoy the mountains. We get to see the mountains. We enjoy bicycling. And retirement for me has been about 22 years. And I sometimes need help from Laura or Eric Jurgensen to figure out the math. Sometimes I can work it. Thanks for asking. It's good to see you guys.
Thank you. Yeah,
really
well,
neat.
I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, so I know all about, I know Longmont.
Okay.
Okay, Ted Golden. I see you're on here. Ted, can you say something? Ted. Well, you know.
Ted, wake up.
Wake up, Ted.
His ice storm has knocked down his pecan grove.
Well, you know, Ted gets credit for coming up with a name for our group. Gene tells a story that they were asking at the startup meeting of Catalyst. He said, what should we call the group? And there were several names that didn't sound right. And Ted belted out Catalyst. And, you know, it was accepted. Well, you know, Ted, that name's been Northwest Nazarene, or I mean, Olivet has adopted that name. And then Daryl Cox's place there in what's that Free Methodist here? Greenville has adopted a Catalyst group. So your name is the name that you've said for a group, which I think is perfect for scientists to have. Well, I guess there's something wrong with his microphone. At this point, if we've gotten fewer numbers here, so if you want to sign off, that's okay. But if anybody wants to crosstalk, put up your hand or something. My voice is starting to go at this point.
This is Dave Stroman. I just want to tell Gene hello. I tried to see you, Gene, about 5 years ago at our 50th, but I think your wife got sick and you had to take her to the hospital, and I missed you.
Oh yeah. Let's unmute you, Gene. We need to unmute you.
Okay.
There we go. There you go. Now we can hear you, Gene.
Yeah, well, I was just wanting to say a word to Dave. Yeah, I think about you every now and then.
Yeah.
The other day I bought some salve to put in my eyes to help my eyes out, and I looked down there and there was your old company in Fort Worth.
Yeah. Which product?
It's on the table here, but it's hard to get to. It was some kind of a.
Was it an antibiotic?
No, it wasn't an antibiotic. It was just something to loosen up all the crud that gets under the eyelid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I spent 21 years with Alcon in charge of anything to do with antimicrobials and eye solutions. Finally retired from there almost 9 years ago. But yeah, if it had Alcon on it, I
No,
probably worked on it.
it's called Gentile.
Yeah, Gentile, right. Yeah, it came out of our department.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I tend to think of former students by where they were, what they worked at, and I know in your case you had a diverse career.
Yeah, I did actually. I mean, when I left Catalyst, way back when we moved from Oklahoma down to Dallas, we've been here in Dallas now over 30 years, and I've worked 21 of those years with Alcon, worked another 10 years with another company, and most recently have been involved. Some of the people mentioned COVID. I've done a couple of emergency use authorizations for COVID antibody testing, but I'm staying active.
That's pretty
as
good.
my health will permit.
What is your son doing?
Our son is in Fort Worth. He's a vascular surgeon.
Okay.
And he has 2 boys. He got started late, so our grandsons are 12 and 9 years old. So it keeps us young. And they're both in a private school, so they've already finished the first quarter of their year, but they have to. The youngest one's in quarantine now because of COVID coming into his classroom. He's in 3rd grade, and they had to quarantine the whole group for 2 weeks. But, you know, that's not the first time that's happened to people.
No. Well, mighty good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Gene.
Okay, anybody else have a question for somebody else?
No, I just want to say thanks again to all you people that have had so much of an influence around the whole planet, not just in science, but the people you have contacted is just, unmeasurable. And my daughter and son-in-law, Zon and Scott Martin up in Alaska, are 2 of the products that you helped to produce, actually. And they're ministering to the Eskimos. Zonda's principal of a school, and I have one with the Inupiaqs. And they're carrying SNU's name up there. Daughter Zonda had some bad news with her spine yesterday, but all of you keep her in her prayer. Anyway, you all know the drill. And so I know among all of us, we have so many prayers out there that need answered. And wow, looking at these faces, the halls that we saw down, they like to go to Disney. So, anyway, spread the word, Catalyst and God.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Gene is still on. Sharon is still there. I get the privilege of seeing Sharon in town occasionally, and now I'll start seeing Leo. Dennis Williams said that he wants to go out to eat with you and me, Leo, so we can talk about old times with the Quirk and new times with the Quirk.
We must do that, and tell him hi. I'll be talking to him this week.
Yeah, okay, good. And he's an energetic leader for Quirk, so that's good. Anybody else?
Well,
Sharon Young still on?
Sharon's still there. Yes, Dr. Young is still there.
Cool. I just want Sharon, little military language. Copy that, Sharon.
Good to hear from you, Charlie.
Well, since this is Shauna again, since biology is shorthanded, I'll be teaching origins this year. Does anybody want to give me a word of advice?
I guess we could pray for you.
I know Sharon's not volunteering there.
We'll pray a lot, and you know, I'm not sure if you can work any of Sharon's fruit flies into origins or not, but
well, I thought I should do a genetics section for sure. Ed is actually going to team teach it with me. I think we're going to start origins a little earlier than it used to start. He's going to start with like the first nanosecond after creation. There's a lot that happens in those first 10 nanoseconds, apparently.
Seriously, Shauna, if I've got any resources you can use, be happy to share.
I may email you later, Sharon. I know that you're always happy to help and share, and I appreciate you. And I've got the book, you know, that you loaned me, the Origins book.
Okay.
I do have some old books also, but you know, how can you use old books in a course like Origins?
Right, a lot changes, yeah, but it's good to know where we've been in our state of knowledge to see where we are now. So.
You know that we've got an extensive library. We did a funded project a few years ago, and so I don't know if the library still has all those books in one place or not, but you might check that out.
Oh, we've got a really good librarian now, so Lisa remind me to talk to Constance on Monday. Thank you for that, Sharon. That is great advice. Thank you. Oh, Ted, I don't think that Daniel Bush or Floyd Wilder got to talk if they wanted to say something, unless I lost track of who's been talking.
Well, no, I think they both got to talk. Dan's retired after 42 years. Looking good there.
Good to see everybody.
Yes. And Floyd did get to talk, so that's good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I lost a little track while I was keeping up with the chat, I guess. So sorry about that. So I guess I can't multitask well enough to read and listen at the same time, just like my students.
Now, Nick, how are we supposed to keep track of the chats now? We're supposed to copy them or save them?
Once the meeting is over, I'll download the chat and then I'll save it.
Yeah, so you won't actually end the meeting or get out of the meeting until you actually save all the chats. Is that right?
After I leave the meeting, I can save everything.
Okay. I sure would like to have a copy of those.
No problem.
And there's
I'm
certainly
going to try and get a chat in here also, but I put this photo of the Rio Savegre on there for Dr. Rudd, because I knew he was going to get his fly fishing kit out there, and that river is still running.
That's beautiful. That's a bit of heaven, man. I only can catch a trout. That's awesome. Awesome.
Well, I think I will go ahead and sign off. My voice is gone, but you guys are welcome to stay on it. Nick will close the meeting. So I'm going to sign off here. And great to be Catalyst president, and this is a novel thing for us to do. We got started late partly because I came and practiced a couple times this week, but the laptop wasn't, I couldn't get into the laptop. Apparently it had already been started for me when I showed up the other two times. So anyway.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Ted, for organizing all this.
Well, thank you. Everybody's a blessing to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Ted, and thank you, Nick, of course, so much.
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Hi.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
All right.
I guess I'm still on, aren't I?
Still on there, Leo?
The view of the campus.
Yeah. Yes, we'll call recordings.
Have you ever been to Spectrometer?
I'm not gonna help you. I didn't know you were here because I got on after you got on.
Yeah, I thought I had everything under control, and I showed up and I can't log onto the computer, and
But
so
you got it figured out, and we
we-
got the passcode to everybody, and
yeah, the school did not tell me that they would have to do those two other things. I'm used to when I'm the host for Sunday school, and you just hit the link and you're in.
you can set it up to require a passcode or not require a passcode. I'm just astonished that they require a passcode. I don't know what they. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, you know, some places make you do a passcode because they're afraid of bad actors getting on with you or something.
Yeah, well, the way I guess in my Sunday school class, the way we don't require a passcode is they have to be admitted into the room. I have to sign people in. I just hit the button and they come in. That way I don't have to let anybody I don't know keep somebody from crashing it. So
And I thought it went really well, you know?
Yeah, for first time.
Yeah, Chris's presentation cut out a little bit.
Yeah, his microphone was not, let's see, I
Wrong with the guy.
I
Shut
should.
the crazy thing down.
So what else was I gonna have with
Baked beans.
baked beans and a veggie?
Yeah, you said something about cauliflower. Cauliflower with some cheese on it. Well, that was worthwhile. I'm glad that Marilyn helped us out.